People always say you never really know someone until they show you who they are at their worst. I used to believe I knew Ethan Walker better than anyone else on this earth. I was wrong. And the day he destroyed me, standing in front of dozens of people, calling me pathetic while ending our wedding, was the same day he unknowingly created the woman who would ruin him. But I didn't know that yet. That day, all I knew was heartbreak. I met Ethan when I was 26, newly promoted at a marketing firm in downtown Chicago, still believing love was something that happened to you, not something you had to fight for. He worked in finance, confident, polished, the kind of man who knew how to command a room without raising his voice. We met at a charity gala my company helped sponsor. I spilled red wine on his suit within the first 5 minutes. Instead of snapping, he laughed. "I guess that's fate telling me to talk to you," he said, flashing that smile that made women forget how to breathe. That's how it started. Text messages that turned into late-night calls, dinners that stretched past midnight, weekend trips that felt like scenes from a movie. He made me feel chosen, safe, seen. When he proposed 2 years later on the rooftop of a hotel overlooking Lake Michigan, I cried so hard I could barely say yes. Everyone said we were perfect. I believed them. The cracks didn't show up all at once. They never do. At first it was small things. He'd make jokes at my expense in front of friends. "She's a little sensitive," he'd say, laughing when I looked hurt. Or he'd dismiss my opinions during wedding planning. "You wouldn't understand finances," he told me once when I questioned a vendor contract. "Let me handle the important stuff." I told myself he was stressed. Wedding planning does that to people, right? I ignored the way his tone changed when we disagreed, the way compliments turned into comparisons, the way love started to feel conditional. By the time I noticed, I was already emotionally invested. Deposit paid, dress ordered, invitations sent. I was his fiancé. And I thought that meant something. The day everything collapsed started like any other. We were hosting a small engagement brunch at a popular restaurant in Lincoln Park. Close friends, family, a photographer Ethan insisted on hearing for memories. I wore a soft blue dress. He told me I looked acceptable. That should have been my warning. But I smiled anyway. The brunch was supposed to be celebratory, a countdown to our wedding just 3 months away. Instead, it became my public execution. Halfway through the meal, Ethan stood up. He clinked his glass, smiling like he was about to make a toast. Everyone turned toward him. I reached for his hand, expecting something sweet. He didn't take it. "I've been thinking a lot lately," he began, "about honesty, about not pretending." My stomach tightened. "This wedding," he continued, eyes scanning the room, "isn't happening." Laughter broke out, confused, nervous. I laughed too, until I realized he wasn't joking. "What?" I whispered. He turned to me then, really looked at me, and something cold flickered across his face. "I can't marry someone so insecure," he said loudly. "Someone who needs constant reassurance, someone pathetic." The room went silent. I felt every eye land on me like a weight crushing my chest. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice shaking, "stop." But he didn't. "I've been carrying this relationship," he continued. "Financially, emotionally, socially, I deserve better." Someone gasped. My mother stood halfway from her chair. I couldn't move. "I wanted to do this privately," he added, shrugging, "but I figured you'd just cry and beg. This way it's clear." Clear, like my humiliation, was a presentation slide. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember grabbing my purse. All I remember is the burning in my ears, the pounding in my chest, and the way my knees threatened to give out as I walked past the tables. No one stopped me. No one knew what to say. The doors closed behind me, and I collapsed against the brick wall outside the restaurant, gasping for air like I'd been drowning. I had never felt smaller. Never felt so exposed. My phone buzzed in my hand. A text from Ethan. "Don't make a scene. This is already embarrassing enough." That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Dangerously. I went home to the apartment we shared, the one I helped decorate, organize, turn into a home. His things were everywhere. I sat on the edge of the bed in my engagement dress and stared at the ring on my finger. 2 years. Plans. Dreams. Gone. I cried until my throat ached and my eyes burned. But somewhere between the sobs, another feeling crept in. Anger. Not explosive anger. Focused anger. The kind that sharpens your thoughts instead of clouding them. He thought he'd broken me. He thought public humiliation would silence me. He was wrong. I didn't know how yet, but I would make him regret every word he said. That night, I took the ring off and placed it carefully on the dresser. Then I opened my laptop. Not to stalk him. Not to beg. To think. Because Ethan Walker had one fatal flaw. He underestimated me. And soon, that mistake would cost him everything. People think revenge is loud. That it involves screaming, exposure, public meltdowns. They're wrong. The best revenge is quiet, calculated, patient. And by the time the other person realizes what you've done, it's already too late. After the brunch incident, Ethan disappeared for 3 days. No calls, no apologies, no explanation. But I wasn't surprised. Ethan had always believed silence was power. What he didn't know was that I had spent 2 years watching him, learning him, understanding how his world worked. And his world was built on appearances. I didn't leave the apartment immediately. That might sound weak, but it was. It was strategic. I stayed calm, civil, detached. When he finally came home, he looked almost relieved to see me sitting on the couch, composed, my eyes dry. "You're taking this better than I expected," he said, loosening his tie. I smiled softly. "I agree," I said. "I surprised myself too." He nodded, mistaking my calm for surrender. That was his second mistake. Over the next few weeks, I quietly gathered pieces of my life back. And pieces of his. I found emails he'd forgotten to log out of, messages that weren't meant for my eyes. Late-night conversations with a woman named Madison, a junior associate at his firm. Not just emotional cheating. Full-blown betrayal. Hotel receipts, gift confirmations, flights he told me were work trips. I didn't cry. I documented. Screenshots, backups, dates. Because Ethan Walker didn't just humiliate me emotionally. He'd also lied professionally. And that would matter. While Ethan was busy rewriting our breakup narrative, telling people I was unstable, needy, dramatic, I was rebuilding. I moved out quietly while he was at work. No fight. No note. Just absence. Then I did something he never expected. I stopped reacting. No angry texts. No public posts. No explanation. Silence unnerved him more than tears ever could. 3 months later, Ethan announced his promotion on LinkedIn. Senior partner track. Celebratory dinner, industry leaders, his parents, our mutual friends. And Madison. That's when I knew the timing was perfect. I didn't crash the dinner. I didn't show up uninvited. I did something smarter. I emailed. To the ethics committee of his firm. From a professional account. With evidence. Clear, organized, time-stamped. Conflict of interest, abuse of authority, workplace relationship violations. And one final attachment. A recording. From the engagement brunch. His voice. Calling me pathetic. Belittling me publicly. The same man claiming professionalism and integrity. The fallout was swift. Ethan's promotion was frozen. Then revoked. An internal investigation began. Madison was reassigned, then quietly let go. Invitations stopped coming. Friends stopped calling. And suddenly, Ethan Walker, the man who needed admiration like oxygen, was invisible. He called me that night, for the first time in months. "You did this," he said, his voice shaking. I didn't deny it. "I told the truth," I replied calmly. "You ruined my life," he snapped. I laughed softly. "No," I said. "You ruined it yourself. I just stopped protecting you." Silence. Then something I never expected. "Begging." "I was angry," he said. "I didn't mean it like that. You know I loved you." "Loved?" Past tense. "I loved who I thought you were," I said, "but I finally met the real you." And I hung up. 6 months later, I stood on a stage at a women's leadership conference in Boston. I had switched firms, doubled my salary, found my voice again. I spoke about emotional abuse, about public humiliation, about choosing yourself. I didn't mention Ethan by name. I didn't need to. Some stories don't require villains to be identified. Their absence speaks louder. I ran into him once after that, at a grocery store. He looked smaller somehow. Older. He avoided my eyes. I didn't. I smiled politely. Not cruelly. Not smugly. Just peacefully. Because the truth is, my comeback wasn't destroying him. It was rebuilding myself. He thought shamming me in public would break me. Instead, it freed me. And that's the kind of revenge that lasts forever. The end.